So to play Happier, we're going to capo 5, and we're going to keep the capo on for the whole song. We've got some chords and some picking. The general chord progression for basically the whole song, not the whole song, but basically the whole song, is A minor, then a quick G, C. And that G isn't just a normal G, it's a G on B. So we get A minor, G on B, C, and then F. Now for this F, you can play bar chord, easy F, thumb style, doesn't really matter. Stick to the one that you know or the one that you're working on. For the G on B though, if you're not sure what that is, it's basically just a G chord where our lowest note, instead of being G, is a B. To do that on the guitar, you simply play the G from the A string onward. So you don't want to hear that low E string. Now, if you do accidentally hit it and you get some sound, cool, doesn't matter, okay? If you find it too hard to get the A string onward for that G chord, doesn't really matter, just swing at the strings anyway and have a go. A really good idea though is to make that low E dead over here. So I'm holding the A string with my index, but I'm touching the low E at the same time. It's a little tricky, but your finger kind of comes from this angle rather than on top of the string. You're kind of attacking it from the side. Again, not a big deal. A lot of students who find that G change really quick and too difficult, they'll just leave it out. So they'll just go A minor, 3, C, F. Now, if you are just learning these chords, that's a great way to start this song. Just run through A minor, C, F. In fact, I use this with some beginner students to teach them A minor to C and then F. You can see that these chords are all connected, right? So that's a really good learning step in guitar. But we've got that G in there, and it's better if we do include it. So include it as much as possible. If you really can't, leave it out, chuck it in later on maybe. So we need to also have a look at the timing. The A minor is only held for 3 beats. 2, 3, 4. On beat 4 of that bar, we play the G. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go to the next bar, which is C. 2, 3, 4, and then F. 2, 3, 4 for 2 bars. So F goes for 2 bars there. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, some students like to play the F twice. I've seen a lot of guitar teachers teach that method before, and you can do that, that's fine. After the F, you can actually go to a quick G to get back to the start again. Personally, I don't really like including that. I find for most students it just ends up being difficult. But if you do want to throw it in there, you can. My suggestion, if you're at this kind of level of a song, leave it out unless you're just learning this to play at an acoustic gig, which means you must be a half decent guitarist. And that goes for the whole song. I've seen a lot of guitar teachers use some strumming patterns for this. Personally, I like just the single strum the whole way through. That's my favorite way to play this song. You can add some strumming though. If you do, what I would suggest is constant down strumming. Now, what I'm doing there is simply just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In every bar, I'm palm muting, which means resting my karate chop type hand on that white bar of my guitar. Yours might not be white, but I'm touching the strings and that white bar so that I get a muted sound. I think that fits the song really well, and I would choose personally just to play it that way for the strumming. In fact, if I play it with the palm muting, I actually kind of like throwing that extra G in there that I mentioned earlier that typically I don't add. I'll play it like that so you can hear it. As you can see, that really does kind of make it much more interesting to listen to and to play. Personally, my preferred method for teaching the students is without that, just because usually at that level it's a bit complicated for them, but you can feel free, like I keep saying, to go through that way if you want. So if we want that extra G, it comes in on count number 4 of that bar, or count number 8 if you're counting all the way from the first time you play F. if you do add that extra strumming, a good way of thinking about how to apply that to the song is simply count in your head 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and remember we change on the 4 to that G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and. So we're going to change on the 8 there and change to the first G after the A minor. We change on the 4. So really, it's not changed anything with the timing of our chords or anything like that. The difference is just that we have constant strumming. Personally, I find one of the best ways to learn that is just play the song with single strums like this. And then as you're playing, just try to constantly strum whilst your left hand keeps doing what it was doing before, and then you can kind of just combine the two. That tends to work relatively well for most students. Sometimes though people will need to sit down and concentrate on what exactly it is a little bit more, and that's okay. Do whatever you need to get the hang of it. Now that is basically the chord progression for the whole song. Every other lesson and tutorial and chord sheet I've seen for this just has either the same chords or they go to a D minor for some of it, capo 5 D minor that is, and I cannot hear that in the song. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, I don't have perfect hearing, but here's what I think happens in the bridge, and I've never seen anyone else play this for the bridge before, which leads me to think I'm either onto something or I'm just completely off. I'm playing F, C, G, A minor, and then a quick G on B. Then you go back to F, C, G, and just hold that last G. Really it's just a bunch of chords. I'll play it though and explain the timing for that G on B in there for you. So we start with F, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, G, 2, 3, 4, and now the A minor is 1, 2, G on B will be 3, 4, which is different to the previous quick G chords that we had, which came in on beat 4 of the bar. This comes in on beat 3 of the bar, so it's a bit earlier. Sounds like this. And then we go back to the F. And the second half of the bridge doesn't have the last A minor G, it just stays on the final G chord. If I play that through for you the whole way, here's what we get. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we go back to the main theme, which is the verse, A minor, etc., etc. So that's the bridge of our song. Now there's one other chord component I want to mention here, and that's the outro. The outro, or the ending, sounds like it goes back to the bridge, but they don't. The chords stay on the main theme. A minor, G, C, and then F. Now the lyrics there, they change to something much more similar to the bridge. I think they're exactly the same as the bridge. But the chord progression stays the same as the chorus. So the only time we actually play the bridge chords would be in the bridge itself, not in the outro. So that's the chord progression for the whole song all the way through. Let's have a look at the riff. And the riff I've arranged here to be played in conjunction with capo 5 because it fits really nicely. And I like this position of playing it because you can actually make a fingerstyle version of the song. The riff on the B string will be 1, 1, 1, then 3, and then the high E is just open. So 1, 1, 1, 3, open E. You'll notice I'm using my index and ring fingers over here. That's important, use those two. I'm hooking the thumb up the top, roughly first, second fret, around there is okay. On that first fret bar is a pretty good choice. Also, my right hand picking is resting to help with my string accuracy. So 1, 1, 1, 3, high E open. That's part number 1 for our picking. The second part is very similar, starts the same with 1, 1, 1. The 3 goes to the high E, but the open stays where it was on the high E. So it's just changed that 3 to the high E string, that's it. Then we play the very first one again. So parts 1 and 3 are the same. Part 1, part 2, part 3, and now part 4 is quite different. We start with the 1s, that's the same, but then we go open B, open G, and that's the second half. So our picking in total becomes this. Now you can have some strings ringing out in that final section. That's not really a big deal. If it's annoying you, then try to mute them. Personally, it doesn't bother me at all. Now that's all the picking is. It just keeps repeating. You might want to add a slide though, and that's what I would consider to be quite optional. The slide comes in on the second section. So we have the first one, second one, and you slide up to the 3. Roughly from first fret is a good choice. It's pretty awkward, okay? So I don't expect everyone to walk away with the slide. Typically students don't even bother, it's not really worth it, but you can add that if you want. I'll play it through with the slide for you though. That's what we'll get. Now the timing for this picking is a little strange. The way it comes in is after beat 1. So if I was to count in, I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And I'm coming in after the 1. Now we could have a thorough look into the timing. To be honest, it's really not worth the battle for most guitarists at this point in their learning. You're better off just listening to the song. But what you should definitely note is come in after the 1. Whenever I teach this to a student and we play it together, they always want to start on the 1. A really good idea to help you come in after the 1 is to do something on count number 1. Hit the guitar, play a dead note, do something, nod your head, tap your foot. That way you're not just waiting on count 1, you're actually filling that space with something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, nod. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, hit. Doesn't matter what it is, you just want to be doing something so that you're not coming in with the picking on count number 1. So our actual note will come in after beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. If you compare that to the chords come in on count number 1. So if you ever play this with another guitarist or anyone playing on piano, whatever it is, you'll come in after them. I'll see if I can play the two together so you can see what it's like combined. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's somewhat how they would fit together. But that does make up the whole song. We have our chord progression, our bridge chord progression. We have some strumming that we can apply if we want. We have an optional G in that main theme of the song. Again, that second optional G, it is optional. You don't have to have it if you don't want to, but if you want to make it a bit harder, go ahead, throw it in, and you've got that riff for picking. I have seen other guitar teachers play that riff higher on the guitar. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about it. I would stick to focusing on just the way that we've learnt today.